Scheduled to 6:30 start, so we'll get going, and if anybody comes in late, we can pick them up. So, everybody make sure you sign in either on the computer or on the this sheet of paper as you walked in. If you didn't, just grab it on the way out. That way we know you were here, and we would collect some information from you. If we ever need to contact you for anything, that is always helpful. Agendas are also at the front, and another piece of paper with some information on the sewer line insurance. So we're going to start with introductions and a welcome. My name is Scott Peterzak, and I recognize most of the people in the room. I'm the Assistant City Manager and Project Coordinator for the city for these projects. Other City Administration, James Bruckman, City Manager, is here. Amy Dreeland, City Clerk, and they also help with the construction projects. And we have a number of people from EW, and I'm going to let Roy introduce them, because some of the people are new, and I'm not even quite sure their titles and everything yet. So this is Roy Rose, our principal contact at AEW.
Yes, and with me I have Mike Smith, he's the project manager involved in the project. And back there I have Craig Roebuck, who is one of the inspectors on the project, and Chuck Meslinski, who is the head of our inspection department. So I'll give you some phone numbers and that as we go further down.
Great. And welcome to everybody who took the time out tonight to come to the information meeting. So we should be able to just go through this stuff pretty quick. It's pretty general information, and not much is going to change for you other than that there's a little bit of inconvenience where you'll be out of your driveway, the road being torn up in front of your house. So we try to put a good spin on it, you know. Just you know, I got my little thing. So we start off with the project design, and I'll let Roy or Mike talk about that a little bit. The road is basically staying the same. We're not doing any major changes on the width or the length of the road. So that will stay the same, and Roy can kind of touch on anything that drainage and things like that. So
Basically, we're, like Scott says, we're just more or less replacing the road where it is. We're tweaking some of the drainage. We may move some of the drainage structures to provide better drainage than we have today because the road's pretty flat out there. But that's about it. We're trying to meet close to the same high points, close to the same low points. There might be a slight adjustment from the sidewalk to the curb, but it's going to be minor adjustments as we go forward. And we're going to, as part of the project, if we need to, because if we end up with too great of a slope on those driveways, we are replacing all the drive approaches, but we may end up having to replace some of the sidewalk so we can get better slope on there. But I think there's only a couple of cases where we won't run into that issue.
the one big question that we get, and this is on every street still, it's like, oh, are we going to still have water in the road when it rains? You know, that's a big question. So the answer is probably yes. If it rains hard, there's going to be water in the road still, and that's by design. It's either in the road or in your basement. The water can only go, the sewers can only hold so much, and the sewers have restricted plate covers on them, like 6 little holes. Those are designed only to let so much water in so it can flow into the sewers and go out. If you let it all in at one time, it would fill up the sewer, fill up your leads, and make its way to where it needs to go. So in the street is better than in the basement. As far as puddling and standing water, that should go away because the road is going to be graded and the drainage goes in the right directions. If you look at some of the other new streets, if you look all the way down, you can kind of see the roads go like almost like this, and that's for the drainage, so the water has a place to go. So yes, if it rains really hard, there'll still be some water in the street because it's making its way down the sewer at a normal rate, so we don't overflow those sewers. And if you happen to have one of those drainage structures in front of your house, it does help to clean those out. Like if the city tries to, but if it's in the middle of the night and it's pouring, or if it's 6 o'clock in the morning, you go out there and you see there's a bunch of leaves in there, you just, kick it, or I know the police will drive their tires over it, and a lot of times that does enough just to clear the holes so the water can go down it, but especially with all the leaves in this town, it does, they do clog up. So that's basic for design, not much change on that. Tree removal, this is always a big issue also. Oxford is fortunate to have large berms, and there's a lot of big trees on this street, but there's also a lot of like medium mature trees, a lot more than what I had thought originally. So we only have one tree scheduled for removal at this point. And I've already talked to that homeowner, and we're going to be coming out there doing that shortly. It's a big, large tree in the middle of the street that is lifting up the road and lifting up the sidewalk. And when we don't put in the new road, it's going to hurt the tree. So that tree will be compromised, and it's big enough to fall on the house if it was to fall. So we are going to be removing the one tree. Now, that's not to say that we don't have any unfortunate casualties as construction goes on. We're changing a couple things with the way the construction is done so we can minimize that loss of trees. On Cambridge, we did the street, we did a lot of sewer leads, we came in and did the sidewalk, we were cutting tree roots on both sides of the trees, we were going deep when we were doing these sewer leads, and we had trees they just fell over, like somebody pushed them. And that's what happens when you're cutting both sides of the tree root system. It's not healthy for the tree, so we're gonna try to manage that so we don't run into those issues. Contact person at the city will be myself. You can call me here at the office. Email always works great at oxford@cityofpleasantridge.org. That goes right to me. If you have any kind of questions, feel free to ask. If you can always ask the inspector that's on the street too. They're very, very accommodating. We would ask that if you do have a question that you try to ask either the inspector or somebody from the city staff instead of one of the guys on the construction crew, because they don't necessarily, they're building the road, doing what they're supposed to be doing, and maybe not necessarily having the right answers for the city's the city aspect or what you're looking for. So we want to make sure that you're getting good information from either AW or the city. So please either call me, email me, or find the inspector on the street. Come to the community center. I'm out of the street all the time. Call City Hall. Someone will be able to help you.
Hey Scott, on
Yes.
the tree, so what happens if 3 months after you're done, the tree starts dying? Are you guys covering that? Or what?
We'd have to come and take that tree down, and then when we do a replanting, we have to replace it. It does happen. Hopefully not. Like I said, there's a bigger boulevard area on Oxford, so we think we're going to be okay. But it does happen. So yes, we will keep that in mind, and we keep our eyes on the trees during the project.
Hey Scott, what size trees do you replace it with? And if they're smaller, is there an option for the homeowner to upgrade the size of the tree?
Yes, we usually replace with like a 3-inch tree. I mean, anything bigger than that, you usually have to spade the tree in, and it can have a high cost to install and a high chance it's not going to take when you have to spade the tree in instead of doing a planting. And when I say spade, it's basically you're transplanting the large tree from one area to another, and it's a technique they use to take the tree out and put it into the next hole. So if the homeowner wants to go bigger than that, you can work with the city and we can talk about it. Once you get past a 3-inch tree, it gets very expensive. So just so you're aware, I mean the 3-inch, the 2.5 to 3-inch ones that we buy, the oak, elms, and maples, is going to be anywhere from $350 to $500 a piece, then plus install. So once you get higher than that, it can get expensive. So, but we'll keep our eyes on the tree, and hopefully we won't have any of those casualties.
generally speaking with the trees, if they usually have a problem, it'd be like the next year. So, like Scott says, we keep an eye on them for a couple of years to make sure that there's any problems with them.
Garbage collection, always a question. Same as always, put out your garbage like you normally would. If you use cans, make sure the can is labeled. What will happen is we try to get the garbage truck down the street as much as we can. But inevitably there will be one time when it can't, whether we just poured or they've already graded. So the contractor will take the trash down to the end of the block. The garbage guys will collect it and then they'll take the cans back. If the cans aren't labeled, they won't be able to get it back. If there's a time when we know that that's not going to happen, the garbage truck's not going to be able to get down the street, if you can just put out bags that day, we would let you know. It's a lot easier for the contractor if you just put out the bags and they can take the bags down and the guys can collect them that way. So, but you don't have to. You can put out your recycling and everything as we normally would. Like I said, just make sure the bins and the cans are labeled so we can make sure you get it back. Parking or special needs. If there's anybody that has any special needs for parking, is going to have trouble walking down the street once you're moved out of your driveway, please let us know so we can make some arrangements to get a handicap space reserved for you at the closest possible area that we can. So basically what we do is if we know there's 4 people that need some special accommodations, we'll put up 4 handicap spaces as close as we can to the houses. We'd be able to use any one of those 4. So it's, like I said, it is an inconvenience, but we try to minimize it as much as possible.
Scott,
Yes.
can you park at the school?
Yeah, that's actually the second phase. The school is stage 2, that end. So we will be able to use a school lot for the people down at that end. The school's going to be out either way, but that shouldn't be a problem.
What about the other end?
The other end is a little more tricky. You'll be able to park the half that isn't under construction. You'll be able to park on that half on the street.
Can we park both sides or only one?
We have to. That's the one thing we have to check with the police and the fire to see if they're comfortable with that. If a truck can still get down, going on both sides. We have done it on other streets, allowed it on both sides. It's just it becomes a little tricky sometimes with construction vehicles and whatnot coming through. So we'll let you know. We're a little bit of ways away until you're pushed out of your driveway. So we'll let you know on that, whether you can go both sides. There's always the other block to Cambridge, and you could cut across through the park. I know it is a walk, but that unfortunately it's a non-boulevard street, and we're kind of where we don't have the other half.
We could park at the school anytime we want, right?
Yeah, you can. Once school's out, yeah, you can still park at the school if you want to walk down on the block. But if you're the other half, it'd be easier to, if you're at like house number 4 or 5, you could park at house number 23 or 24 where it's cut off. The cutoff is much closer to the school.
Have you talked to the oil change place to see if we could park there at night?
I haven't yet, no.
Or would they let us park across the street in that park where they used to have the cars for the drain crews?
In the park.
Yeah, how they used to let all those
Yeah.
cars in there for the drain crews?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about parking in the park. If it rains, it gets real messy, and you tear up the park quickly and stuff. So we'll get with the oil change place and see if that's possible after hours, and see if there's something we can do with them.
The alley isn't wide enough, is it?
The alley's not wide enough, no. So, and hopefully it's not going to be too long of a period where you're out. I mean, it's 10 days, 14 days, could be. especially with the schedule that we have, so might not be,
We could just drive on the sidewalk like they do in the
Scott, do they
streets
pour it, you say in 2 weeks you should be able to drive it?
for the hamburger.
you can, the construction guys can drive on it, you know, after they pour, and then they have 5 to 7 days when it cures, and they're on there driving on it. They still have some work to do after that, so it's not open right away, because then they have to come in and do the aprons. So what will happen is if we can get assurance from people from the period of time when they're doing the aprons, that by 7 a.m. you're not going to be parked in front of your house when the guys are coming back in to do work on the aprons and whatnot, you'd be off, and it's possible that you'll be able to park in front of your houses. But we have to talk with the contractor and make sure that they're comfortable with that, because it's never fails. We'll end up having a couple cars that aren't moved, and it's like knocking on doors, or guys forbid the tow truck has to come out and pull someone away. So we'll make it as easy as possible for you. I promise you that.
Scott, once we start parking in the parking lot by the school, will there be extra security in the night for them to take a look at it?
Yeah, the police will add it as an extra patrol, and they'll go by, and we didn't have any problems with Cambridge people. When we did Cambridge, they parked in the school, and we didn't have any problems. They added an extra, make sure they are zooming by more times going through the lot, so. Emergency services, the chief is here, and he'd tell you that, you know, you're not going to see any change in emergency service. They will get down the street if they have to drive on concrete that isn't cured yet, if we have to get an ambulance down there, or they'll drive on the grass if they have to. We will get down the road if we have an emergency service need. The one thing I'll stress to you is, if you have landscapers or grass cutting crews, for that period where they're not able to get on the road, you might want to tell them to take a break that week, because we had a landscape crew last year drive right through some brand new sidewalk that was just poured, and right next to a sign that said sidewalk closed. We didn't see her.
So if it starts June 24th, we should say 7 days from there, or 10 days?
We'll let you know. You'll know when we'll say your car has to be out of your driveway in the next 48 hours. Try to give you.
No, I'm thinking of the landscaping guys.
The landscaping guys, you'll still be able to get up and down the street during this first part. There'll just be periodic closures.
Okay.
So that should be fine, even if they can always, you know, if they want to come on the one half and take their mowers up on the sidewalk, because we're not tearing that all out right now. So that's a possibility too, but it's just make them aware
Okay.
when that happens, when you're out in your driveway. Sprinkler systems, if you notice the thing online to get your email address, we asked about sprinkler systems. On the sign-in sheet here, we asked about sprinkler systems. This is very difficult. As you can see with consumers, you know, they tore up some of the sprinkler systems, and some of it they're going to come back and do when we're replacing our stuff, because the whole front part of your house, from the sidewalk to the street, is going to be tore up. It's going to be all removed, and we'll resod that and fix sprinklers on that half right there. So at that time, consumers will come and fix the ones that they have messed up. So shut that zone off, because there's no use watering it even for the next 2 weeks, because it's going to get tore out. So you should be able to shut just that zone off from your front part of your lawn. So it's important for us to know whether you have an operating sprinkler system or not, so we can make sure we get it on our list for the inspector. So when we are coming through and doing those replacements, we can do the job that everyone expects.
So right now, there's some parts that aren't going to be torn up where the sprinklers not working because of consumers. Can they, you know, they didn't cap it or anything, you can't use, like, not the berm part, but the front yard?
The consumers tore up some of that part
Yeah.
on yours.
This
shut that zone off.
I would, yeah.
Well, no, that doesn't.
I would call them,
My zone is-
I would call consumers then. The consumers guys have been in the last couple days, like, trying to figure this out, and they're pulling their hair out over it too, because they don't know, they don't want to go and fix something that's gonna get tore out. So if you have a part that's in between your house and the sidewalk that consumers tore up, I would get in contact with them.
Do you have a contact, because they've torn up
we do.
before, and it's almost impossible to get anybody.
You don't have, we have the same issues with
I've got a
consumers.
number, Bill, I've been.
They-
in touch with
yeah,
them lately.
they've been,
So I can-
I'll give some credit to consumers. That this is the most that they've been in contact with us on any of their projects. I mean, usually they, all of a sudden, here comes the cavalry, move into town and just start working, and we don't even know what they're doing, and they just leave, and we don't even know what's going on.
Well,
So
just a suggestion for the next street, add to your sewer list invisible fences for dogs. Because
Ours
they've
got-
destroyed ours twice now. Twice, we've had to have it repaired. And
from consumers,
yes,
Yeah.
or whoever, I mean, so. but-
Yeah, it's consumers,
You know,
because-
if we had known, perhaps we could have told, the second time, they just showed up.
yeah,
You know, that without any warning.
and they don't tell us either.
Possibly, we could have told them,
Yeah.
you know, avoid this area, avoid that area. Maybe it would have worked, maybe it wouldn't, but at least, you
Are
know.
they supposed to cover those repairs? I don't know.
Anything that they break that was in place, they should cover, yes.
So Scott, do you think they should do it now or wait?
Well, if there's an area, I don't think they should, we told them to hold off. Yeah, we told
So they're
them,
saying they're responsible to the sidewalk and the city's responsible from the sidewalk, but they cut our line under the sidewalk too.
yeah,
Well, I know it was them. It
yeah,
wasn't even
if that
us.
line going under the sidewalk, that's gonna feed the area
Yeah,
that
the
we're
front
gonna tear up anyway.
Right.
We would expect that the line under the sidewalk is fixed and there's the spout ready
So
for
I
us to
should
hook
have
up
that.
to. So they came through and gave us a list of the sprinklers that they need to repair when we're done. So we're gonna coordinate with them, and when that happens, that is one of the very last things of the
So we
project.
should coordinate with you to make sure we're on that list.
Yeah, you can do that, make sure that you're on
So
the
they
list.
don't
and do that
have
one.
any plans right now to do anything with the sprinklers?
Not right now, they don't have any plans to do anybody's sprinklers until our part of the project is over. That way, they repaired everything that's damaged,
Yeah.
including the stuff under the
Yeah,
sidewalk.
if you have something that was broke, that is gonna affect your other part of your system, and you still want operational, I would get in contact with them, because their main concern right now was that area between the sidewalk and the curb. That, you know, why spend $250 to fix something when, I mean, we're gonna come and tear it out and have to replace it again, so it was just a coordination thing on their part, so we do have some contact information for them, we can get to you. So you can get with them. Okay, project updates, we try to update you as much as possible, give you as much information as we can. Our preferred method is email. That's why we've been trying to collect everything that you see come out with from us is email. But we do have like hand-delivered flyers that we put in everybody's door, like you saw, for the meeting. My preference is that we're able to get away from those hand-delivered flyers if you're on our email list and your address. So we only have 5 houses that are not on the email address. We'll just hit them, and we don't have to hand deliver to everybody's house. It takes some time, and
Or you should just
Empty.
talk to one of us, because we have an email list.
right. So
I will block-
if you have a blocked email list and
But
someone
not
can,
everybody's on it.
right. So the part of the issue is the way I send out emails. I can't, just like if you give me a list, I can't send them an email without permission from them. And that's why you see when you sign up for stuff, it says, "Are you sure?" And you got a confirmation email because of the way the spam law works for when you're sending out anything more than like 10 emails. It's crazy. So, and we've been blocked before by Comcast and Gmail. So we make sure that everybody has those. So
I guess we could assign one person to forward it out.
if you know somebody that has if somebody has an email list and can forward it to me and I can touch base with those people to make sure they want to be on our list, that'd be great. I have, I think, 16 or 17 houses already that have signed up from our notice, and if you put your email down today, we'll put you on that, and we'll get going. It's a much faster communication method for us. If on your phone number you put a cell phone number, we can send out mass text messages too to say, hey, it's another way to be able to get the word out to you. We want to make sure that you're informed.
Hey Scott, on that, is there, I can't remember, I'm sorry, is it a weekly email or just as things come up, or?
It could be, it's typically weekly. If it's like a slow go and they're just doing underground work and working, it might be 10 days. Sometimes you'll get 2 in one day because we have to come in and shut water off, or we have something that happened where we need to just notify you right away. So make sure that the emails will come from oxford@cityofpleasantridge.org. Make sure that those are hitting you, the cityofpleasantridge.org. If you get our e-blast right now, then it won't be in your spam box and you'll be safe. Sewer insurance. On the table when you came in, there is a sample letter for sewer insurance. So typically in the past with these road projects, we've had the ability for you to replace your sewer lead at a reduced cost to you. Unfortunately, with the condition that the Oxford mainline sewer is in, and we ran into it with Cambridge, is that we're not able to offer that right now, because when we did Cambridge and they hooked up a new lateral to the houses, they used it's called a firm coat. It wraps around the pipe and it attaches the new lateral to the existing sewer's main. So when they went and tightened that, you hear a crack, and it's the mainline sewer getting the fracture crack in the top. So then we had to replace a portion of the mainline sewer. Well, then when they connect to that one, same thing. It just kept going down. So we replaced 70, 100 additional feet of mainline sewer at a very, very high cost. So we know that the sewer's in great B shape. The plan is that we're going to come through at a later date and put a sewer liner through the main line, and they melt this plastic pipe, and they have a machine that pulls it through the existing pipe, and then it expands out. So you're getting the new sewer, and then a little robot goes through and cuts a hole for your lateral. It's pretty cool stuff. But, so that's in the future. We're going to be doing that to fix any problems that are in the mainline sewer. But the good news is that the city does have this ability for a sewer insurance program. It's like $75 a year, and the company covers up to $4,000 for a sewer repair and another $4,000 for concrete replacement. So if you have a problem, you call them, they send out a plumber, and they fix it for $75 a year.
From where to where?
That's from the main line to your house. Anything that's outside. Anything that's outside.
Even if you have to cut through the road?
Yep, that's why they'll cover $4,000 for concrete and $4,000 for repair. So you could
What's the general cost of something like that?
typically, if you were doing it after the road was done, $10,000 to $12,000. It takes a long time. I mean, even if you're like last year, the short-sided houses, the houses that were closest to the sewer, were about $1,800 on Cambridge. So people would, and we only go from the main to about 1 foot into the sidewalk. The city has never gone all the way up to your house. So you are paying $1,500, $1,800 to have that replaced when you could pay $75 a year. It'll take you 25, 30 years to get to that amount of money. They do snaking. If you have to have it snaked, they cover, I think, 1 or 2 route out's a year on the insurance, so.
So Scott, the plan right now is there will be no changes to the main sewer and the tie-ins to the houses.
Exactly, and I think there's one area that they're gonna be doing,
I think there's two.
2 areas where they're gonna be doing some small repairs, and then we rebuild, the catch basins.
But in general, that main line is gonna stay, and any connections
Yep.
that exist are gonna stay.
Are gonna stay, correct, correct. So if you know that you, and this is another thing that when we come in and tear out these sewer laterals, trees take a beating because inevitably there's those, some of those sewer lines go right underneath the trees and
Trees find the sewer line.
you're right, and we'd be calling you and say, all right, you have 2 options, you can stop it here where the tree is, or we can cut down the tree, because that's the only way to get to the sewer line. So that's another reason why it's very difficult for sewer laterals during these projects. So without sewer laterals in the project and very little underground work, this project is gonna go fast. So you lose, you can only, last year they were doing maybe 1.5 laterals a day, and they had, I think they did 12. So that added, almost 2.5 weeks to the project. So it will move by pretty quickly without that. So we encourage you to sign up for the sewer insurance if you already haven't. You can just go to the website or call that number. Like I said, it's like $75 a year, and they're a good company. I think we had 40 claims last year, I think they said. And people, either having this routed out or replaced or whatever, so.
So on Cambridge, you could replace your lateral for a discounted amount.
Not discounted.
Right.
You paid the price for the contractor to do it, it's just the road was already tore up.
Okay, you paid the 10 or 12,000.
No, you paid about $1,500 to go from the main line to your sidewalk.
Right. So if we choose to do it some years from now, or next year, the following year, it would be the same amount. It's not cheaper when you do it, when the road's torn up.
It is cheaper when the roads tore up because you don't have to replace concrete, you don't have to tear up concrete and replace
I mean,
concrete.
cheaper for us.
Cheaper for you. If we were to do it during the road construction, it would be less
Right,
expensive,
so it
yes.
sort of seems like we're not, it's sort of not, we're not getting the same opportunity that.
At this point, you could say that, yes, but we have some other concerns with the mainline sewer with that. Anytime you start digging up and messing around with the mainline sewer, you just open that sewer up for problems. This sewer in Cambridge have a little bit more wear and tear than some of the other sewer lines in the city. So that's why we said we were gonna come through with the lining program. So we're concerned about digging these sewers are 13, 14 feet down the ground, some of them. Once you start digging that and then you expose it and tear out a lateral, and we're concerned about the condition of the mainline pipe including that on a number of houses on the street.
And on a cost perspective, it doesn't end up, if you take the insurance and you have to go all the way from your house to the main line, with the insurance covering $8,000, and then if it's 10 to 12, you're on the hook for $2,000 to $4,000 for out of pocket for that. And the replacements for the laterals just from the main line to the sidewalk on Cambridge were $1,500 to maybe a little bit more if you're on the other side of the street. So taking the insurance, the net difference there isn't that much more, which is why we're a little more comfortable that this is maybe not totally fair, but close to fair.
Yeah.
And given the experience.
Seems really fair.
But-
It seems like you guys should cover the insurance then.
I don't, maybe, but the issue is that the Cambridge project cost us $40,000 more because when we were doing lateral leads, the mainline sewer was crumbling. So,
I mean, I get your problem, it's just sort of in terms of equity, we're all paying the same taxes, and it should have sort of,
I mean, this is something that the money comes out of your pocket anyway. It was a program that the city offered if we were able to, as a perk, more or less. Never something that was ever guaranteed to be able to do. And the contractor, they come in and it's always an alternative bid, but they're always reluctant to want to do all those laterals too. And I mean, that's part of the reason why they stop at the sidewalks, they don't want to go up on private property for doing that, so.
We'll consider paying for the insurance over here. I mean, I can't commit tonight, but we'll look at it.
Yeah, I think that would be a.
Can you do the insurance just for a year, or do you have to do it for 10 years?
You can do it for, you can do it for a year, you can do it for 2 years, you can do it for however long you want. It's not a.
They've
it's not a long-term
they've
contract.
offered it for several years, and every year you get a renewal notice.
Yeah.
So they'll,
And I
it says on
agree
here
with
30
Val's recommendation, though, to pick up that 75 seems more fair.
Why would they not do the sleeves before they did the road?
The lining.
The liner, the liner doesn't impact the road. You don't have to tear up the road to do the liner.
What if it
And it
doesn't work
wouldn't
right?
It works right.
And it wouldn't be easier to connect the
Never
roads?
We've done it on, we did it on Woodside. They do it all the time now. It's a regular
We do a lot
business.
of, we represent a lot of communities, and we do a lot of sewer lining. We probably, I don't know, I can't even tell you how many miles we're involved with per year in residential areas like this, where we don't dig it up, we replace it, we line the sewers. And what Scott said it is, but basically, it's felt impregnated with epoxy, not epoxy, it's a resin in there that they use the water, most of the time they use water by putting a stack and they put water in there and it pushes the liner through the pipe, so there isn't, and then what happens is they heat up the water and they have a boiler, they heat up the water and it causes the resin to set and it hardens into a pipe, and they project the life expectancy of these liner pipes are 80 to 100 years. And what they do is, what happens, because you've got the water pressure, all the services show up as a dimple. First they TV it before so they know approximately where these locations of the service are. Then there's a dimple and they come in and they run out those service leads so you're reconnected to that main. And we can do it, we do a lot of this in some of the areas where the sewers are on the rear yards. People build garages, people build all kinds of stuff over it, and we line sewers in those locations. But we do very little open cut sewer replacement today because of the fact is the lining is it's less evasive and it does just as well of a job.
So why would you wait until after that road is done to do it?
We can do it, theoretically, we could do it at any time. We TV and clean the sewers on the street. The sewer itself is not, there isn't a problem per se with the sewer. It's still, it may have a crack here or crack there, but still for the most part it's intact. And to line it is not I don't want to say an inexpensive process, but right now, based upon the condition of sewer, it doesn't warrant for the whole thing to be lined. And that's why we're not doing it at this point in time. What the city's trying to do is do a proactive approach to this. As we're doing these projects, we're taking a look at the sewers ahead of time, because like you say, if we got a problem, let's fix it when the pavement's off. But in this case, we're going to go back in a few, I'll say 5 years or 10 years, and we're going to look at that sewer again and make sure at that point, if it needs to, we'll replace that sewer or line it. I shouldn't say replace it, but line that sewer at that point.
And we get a better rate the more feet you add to it. So when we look at doing possibly Oakland Park, Cambridge,
All this.
and Oxford all at the same time, and it allows us to put away some money for those projects over the next few years and then do them all at once.
Because the simple answer is we don't have the money to do that and the road project this year.
Right. Oxford's it's an expensive endeavor, so.
So when those plumbers came in, I assume that it was plumbers that you hired, and they came in like the dead of winter to do the cameras?
That was not us, that was consumers.
Oh, consumers did
Yeah,
that,
we
okay.
didn't do that, that was consumers.
Why
Yeah.
was that consumers?
Yeah, they want to know where the lines
Oh,
are.
they wanted the lines running,
Yeah.
right, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So those sinkholes in our street are not going to be there anymore,
No, the road will be flat, just like all the other streets that have been reconstructed, so they will be gone, yes.
So we have a speed bump by our house, and I think it slows the traffic down.
Yeah.
Anybody ever talk about adding one or keeping one?
I think
You
there's
can't, yeah, you can't have speed bumps on, you're not supposed to have speed bumps on residential roads. Anyway, so that'll be coming out, but we're, the city is looking at larger traffic calming, things in the future.
A larger traffic what?
Calming, to calm down the traffic, to slow it down,
Oh.
traffic calming, so, we have had a traffic counter out on Oxford and get some of that data.
Yeah, we took a baseline, we had a traffic speed and traffic count camera that was out there, recording traffic on Oxford. It was out for a week plus.
Did it
So we-
record the speed too?
Yes, the speed too. So we know how many people are going in each direction, how fast every car was going in each direction. So we've got that baseline data. We'll do that again after the road project is done, when the road is new.
So
They
fast.
can pass.
But if there's already a problem, that doesn't help.
Right, so I mean, is it gonna slow traffic down? No, probably not. But then we're working on some options that we can come back and talk to the street about some things that we can try, some things that we can do.
Parking our car perpendicular.
You know what? The best way to slow traffic down would be allow parking on both sides of the street. But,
We still
Yeah.
have- Or sending them a ticket.
And also takes off your side of the mirror.
What was the comment about speed bumps not being allowed?
You can't have speed bumps on residential streets.
The first
You have speed dips?
Yeah, speed dips, that's places for water to sit in a dip on the road. Speed bumps are not designed into any residential roads. Some private places and private parking lots will have speed bumps, but on residential streets, they don't work. The first time the snowplow hits it, well, bye-bye snowplow or bye-bye speed bump, one of the two, so.
You make it one way, the other way.
We're still getting a lot of illegal turns at 7 to 9 in the morning. So that-
Yeah, so I know that the police monitor in Oxford, we'll keep our eye on the traffic, and like you said, we'll put the counter back out there after the road is done and be able to come up with a
Just make it one way.
test on that, so.
That would be great.
So, stage one of the project is scheduled to start on June 24th, you know, barring any crazy weather issues between now and then. So stage one is from Woodward to the midpoint of house 2324, right there. So the first thing that, and Roy, correct me if I'm wrong, that Worcester's gonna come and pulverize the whole road and do all the underground work.
Well, in this case here, they're gonna come in, they're gonna mill up, because this has an asphalt overlay. On Cambridge, it was all asphalt, so they pulverized that, but here they're gonna mill out the asphalt to start with, and then they're gonna come in and start tearing out the concrete. And as they get by where they gotta start with their storm sewer, then they're gonna start working on the storm sewer simultaneously almost.
All at once, the
Yes,
whole
yes.
road,
The whole stage
the
one.
whole stage one, not the whole thing.
Not the whole road, just
Okay.
the stage one.
All right, so originally when I talked with Joe, we thought they were gonna try to do underground on the whole road.
Okay.
But I think that was if they were able to pulverize it.
Right, they may come through and mill the whole road at one
Okay.
time, while they got the mill out there,
Yeah.
but they may not do all the storms. And we only got a couple of storm sewers, so.
Okay. So they're gonna come and take the asphalt off of the concrete that's there on the whole street, chances are the whole street, so it'll still be drivable, it'll just be, you know, a little bumpy. And they're gonna do their underground work on stage one. So during that time, you'll still have access to your driveways. We'd ask that you try to avoid parking in the street, but you'll have access to your driveways until they're ready to go. So at that point, when they're ready to lay down the forms and the grade is set, that's when you'll have to have your cars out of your driveway, and we'll let you know ahead of time on
Is
that.
that a week, two, or what's the?
It'll probably be a couple weeks
What's that?
when they're ready to lay forms.
Like the 24th to when forms go down.
It depends upon what kind of issues we run into with I don't anticipate any with the storm sewer. So I would say probably somewhere around, where they got their schedule, around the 4th of July or something like that.
Probably just after the form. On the 11th?
completion grading.
Yeah, so that would be somewhere around the 11th, then they'll start putting down their area base and doing their final grading and getting formed. So hopefully we'll have, you still have access to the 4th of July weekend.
Is there any risk to the foundations of our houses with the vibration?
We've never had any problems with it, no. Nope. So then stage 2, after they'll come through, they'll complete paving on stage 1, and then it has to cure for 5 to 7 days. So you'll see after they pour, they come and saw cut it, and then there's kind of like nothing going on. It was like, well, what the heck? Why did not do anything? The concrete has to cure for a certain amount of days until we get our concrete tests back. So at that point, they will probably move on to the second half of the street and start doing some underground work, at least, and finishing up some touch-up jobs that they have to do on that to start preparing that for paving. But we'll let you know well ahead of time on that.
Hey Scott, just to back up a second on stage 1. In terms of the broad thing, so June 24th, they do milling, they start to pulverize, whatever. July 11th is where everything's up and they're ready to start paving and putting down. Is that another week or 2 for the paving, and then there's another week or 2 for curing, or what is the broad strokes on?
Basically, that it's only a few days that they'll be integrating, setting forms. They'll pave it probably all in one day.
Right, so a
And then
couple
we-
days from the 11th is they'll be ready to.
Yeah, and basically what they have planned on is, let's see, from about the, somewhere from the 11th to the 24th is when, between the paving and the cure time and putting the area base, or the stone base down and everything, they'll be done with phase 1 paving. And at that point, the road that you can drive on the road, what they want to try to do is do any approach work and sidewalk work before they go to phase 2. So they'll be all done with all that before they go to phase 2. The road can be open and you can park on it and use it, but then we also have to pour the approaches, which is another 5 days for that to cure.
Sure.
But at least you'll be back to
But
the
the
front of your
knows
house.
for the most part, for stage 1, the 11th to the 24th, sort of mentally, we're going to be off the streets,
Yes.
as you guys are doing.
There might be some other interferences,
Sure,
depends
right,
on
right.
some
Maybe
storms,
we'll
but for the
whatever.
most part, that's.
But yeah, that's a good 13
Ballpark,
days, yeah,
right,
ballpark,
that's
like I said, we
stuff
say
changes, you
2
can
weeks
start
that you'll have.
What's the projected start date for the second half?
The projected start date for, is August the 8th. Or August the 3rd, I'm sorry.
What was that date?
I was reading the 8-3 and
So then they'll start working on phase 2, and it's stage 2, it's identical to what they do on stage 1, right? And then the people, you'll be able to park on stage 1, it'll be completed,
So
and they'll
Saturday
go from
plus
there.
2 weeks to do whatever, and then 2 weeks and they'll go.
yeah, they're planning on putting the stone base down on phase 2, starting about the 14th of August, almost a month later. And then they'll have the pavement done and basically open by around August 26th.
So it'll be done before school starts?
The road will be done. There may not be all the topsoil and the sod put back in the boulevard, but the road will be done and the driveways. They have completion of the driveways.
Right at the end of August on the 31st.
Yeah.
But the main road will, by that time, will be completed, and they'll be doing that. But they will have landscaping and things to do that, which is better to do in September. As I remember, one of the streets, they finished early because there was, a half inch of asphalt on there, and it tore out so fast, and they have a lot of underground work, and they planted, grass and landscaping in August, and it just dies. It's watered for so long, but it's just tough. So doing it in September is much healthier for the grass and everything, so it works out.
So all the landscaping phase 1 and 2 will be done at that time?
Yes.
Yes, all the landscaping is done at once. So people on stage 1 will, you'll hit the front of your berm area will still be, tore up and, unsightly, but it is still a construction area. So we do all the landscaping at once.
It'll probably be, there'll be probably 3-4 inches below your sidewalk and below the back of curb, because we put 3 inches of the topsoil and we put the sod on top of that, so it's gonna be down. Look at that rough graded as part of the project, but then that restoration come in, put the topsoil in and the sod in will be all done after all the pavement. So it'll be probably around the first part of September to about the middle of September, then everything should be done.
And they're pretty, once they start on landscaping, it's pretty fast. I mean, you get work. So they get it down and it's done. You come through with a punch list if there's any problems and get things fixed, and it's a brand new road. Yes?
When are they gonna fix the sprinklers?
They fix the sprinklers before they do that's part of the landscaping. Part of the landscaping, yeah, before they put the sod down, yep. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify, so, the first portion, when they're just milling everything, the road will be drivable, obviously it's not great. The second portion, when they're doing phase 1, the west half from 24 on will be still access for driving and parking.
Yep.
And then phase 2, will there be an overlap when phase 1 is not cured and phase 2 is already torn up and the whole road is inaccessible?
No.
Okay, so there will always be half the road where you could drive
Yes.
or park on it?
Always be half the road where you can drive a park on it. Now,
Okay.
there'll be part possibly when stage 1 is, just finishing up with the curing and they're doing some little work where stage 2 has some periodic closures, like maybe just in front of a house where they're doing some work, but the whole road, both roads will not be closed at once.
Okay,
Try
I
to avoid
figured,
that
but I
so
just
people
wanted to
can
make sure.
still have access to at least one half, so they're not totally put out the streets.
Are the sidewalks now done, or are we gonna get the rest of the parts
So
of the?
we're gonna be coming through, we're not coming through and replacing all the sidewalks, because we're gonna be doing a more comprehensive sidewalk program in the next few years here throughout the city. So consumers came through and put in a lot of new sidewalk down, and me and Mike are gonna be going and looking at some of the real bad sidewalk areas that we know need to be replaced. And some of the others, we're gonna come through and do some repair work, some grinding where the sidewalk's still in good shape and it just maybe has a little dip here or there. So when we replace the road and the sidewalks at the same time, we have a big tree issue that's real bad. So we want to make sure that we're not.
So there will be more sidewalk work done then?
There is a few slabs that we know of that are gonna have to be replaced, and some of them will, like Lloyd said, that where your driveway is, where your driveway apron is, some of those we'll have to replace those because of the pitch of the driveways. So there is some more sidewalk work that's gonna be coming through, but it's not a wholesale tear out and redo. But consumers did quite a bit of sidewalk work. I was surprised actually how much, when I went out there with them, they were like, well, we didn't do that. I said, oh, you don't know if you did that because they didn't go in and remark anything. So it's like, well, it's next to the one they cracked, so they fixed quite a few of them. But we will be coming through and marking some of the sidewalks for removal and replacement, but it's not a wholesale change out.
2 questions on that. If there's green dots on some, are those the ones that have already been identified?
No, green dots means existing damage.
Yeah, typically what we do, because they just TV'd that today, what we do is we do videotaping of the project beforehand, because just to make sure we have everything, so if somebody comes and says, hey, I had this gold-plated wall in my front yard and everything else, and you guys took it away, well, we got video to show that what it was and wasn't there. But the other thing we try to do is also identify if there's pavement that's previously cracked, so that we can say, okay, we will take responsibility for that, or the contractor, whoever, if we crack the pavement. But, so that's what we do, we go through and green dot it so it shows up on the video that there was a crack there before we started the job. Now, that doesn't mean that Scott and Mike, when they go out there, that they may say, hey, that flag has to come out, but we just had went through and identified it before they TV it, so we know exactly what was cracked.
So then this would be another inequity between other roads and Oxford, because the other roads got their sidewalks completely redone.
Not all the streets are,
Well,
only three
recent ones have.
Three of the streets have had full all-out sidewalks. So, but on Oxford sidewalk is in not as bad shape as like West Cambridge was. I think there was 80% of the sidewalk that was needed to be tore out.
And as Scott mentioned, the last couple of projects, it appears, it never fails. We just about get done with the project or close to it. In fact, a couple of years ago, a big windstorm came through and knocked a bunch of the trees down. Unfortunately, it was before cars were on the streets and everything else, but because we compromised both sides of the street, they had a narrower boulevard and the trees were compromised on the one side because of the pavement and on the other side because of the sidewalks. So we're trying to give the trees a better chance of surviving by it being compromised and it's only on one side. Plus the other fact is we got a little bit wider boulevard here than we typically have on some of the other streets.
And Kemberton West, Kemberton, Elm Park West, and Cambridge are the only streets that had sidewalks replaced. All the other streets did not have their sidewalks replaced.
So why was the decision to replace theirs then?
Well, Cambridge, they're just in awful, awful shape, and I can't speak to the other two before that.
The same with the others. We went through and they were 80% were going to have to be replaced.
So the ones that have been identified with green dots, are those going to be replaced?
Those are just the cracks. Those just
Yeah, not
identify where
necessarily.
the cracks on the existing sidewalks.
We're going to go through and see any that have large gaps that would be trip hazards, or if they are in terrible, terrible shape, then we will mark them for removal or replacement.
Is there a way we can tell if they're marked for replacement or not?
I'm not sure if we're going to either mark them with paint or if we're going to do it on a GIS map. So a lot of times the paint ends up wearing off by the time we get to them. So it's possible that we do mark it with paint or.
We'll have them eventually, before they start the removal process, whether it's in phase 1 or phase 2, the inspector will go out and identify what has to be removed, because as they're going down removing the roadway, they want to remove those sidewalks at the same time.
And we are in the middle of we're doing an inventory. The city's going to be replacing sidewalks throughout the city, so we're prioritizing the ones who are in the worst shape, and we'll just be doing sweeps through the city and taking care of the sidewalks on a year-by-year basis. So if there's a problem with flag on Oxford, we'll get to it.
So in previous sidewalk projects, they assessed the homeowner. You know, so let's say some don't get done, and then in 2 years you're going through and you're replacing. Then it's
No.
no.
Because, and that's why we're not comfortable assessing homeowners, because some streets have had their sidewalks done for them as part of a road project. So we don't feel comfortable going and charging homeowners on other streets for their sidewalks when the city has taken care of them on some street projects. So now we're doing a sidewalk maintenance program. The city's going to pay for it. We're prioritizing the worst places. And then in the future, you know, sometimes you have heaves where the flags are in fine shape, they've just been heaved. You can grind that and level out and get rid of that disconnect, and then you can move on. Once we get all those, because those are the trip hazards, so that's a liability to the city. Once we get those done, then we can start to address the cracked and the spalling flags that are not trip hazards, but are starting to fall apart. So we're going to do it systematically to take care of all of these things citywide, and on the city's responsibility, not the homeowners.
Real quick, one thing I'd mention is that this was built into the general operating millage that we passed this last November, the sidewalk program. So this has been planned to take care of this.
So we'll go and this year when we start, what we'll probably do is grind the discontinuities. That's gonna be our first thing. We'll make sure that Oxford gets done this year, just with the street project, and make sure that all those get taken care of. So that'll be later this fall after the project is complete.
Any other questions?
So if we put our home phone on the contact us, we should put our cell.
If you do have, well, yeah, if you want to, well, if we send out a text to it, which I typically don't, I try, unless it's like a main emergency, like,
Sure.
where I need to make sure they actually, right, so there is gonna be one day, where the water is gonna be shut off for a short period of time to replace the fire hydrant. And by 2, I think it's right in front of 2, that hydrant is, like 96 years old or something like that. Still
So
works,
you'll let us know, right?
still operational, what's that?
You'll let us know?
Yes, yeah, that we definitely let you know,
The whole
so.
street?
The whole street will have to be shut off, and it's not long, it's long enough to be able to turn the valve, put the new valve in and put the hydrant in and they turn it back on, so it's maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours at most. And so we'll let you know when that's gonna take place.
Is there anything else like that that would be like if we passed the right?
Yeah, no, that's the only, we're not replacing any
Sewer,
other
no flushing
water,
toilets,
no, it won't be, it shouldn't be any of that. So that'll be, the only planned shutdown is for that hydrant replacement, because anything over 90 years old, we want to replace some hydrants with some new ones, so. And they, believe it or not, those are good hydrants still, they still work, but they have new hookups and things on them now that, so.
Put it on eBay.
We have a couple that are part, yeah. We have people that want those, because you can't, the scrap yards won't buy them because they know you stole it. Because it's not like you can just
acquire that.
have a fire hydrant somehow, right? So they won't buy it from anybody. Just like sewer lids, they won't buy those, they're all stamped, so we definitely, people do want them though, so.
I got a couple, just 2 things. One is try to bear with us. We're going to try to do this as quietly as we can. You know, the contractor can't start work till 7 o'clock, but by golly, by 7 o'clock, they'll be out there, engines running, ready to go. And they're going to, unless they're under problems, they're going to probably work till 6, 7 o'clock at night. And it may shut down sooner, but unless we run into some type of problem that we have to repair something because something got broke or whatever, they'll be, the only other time that there might be a possibility of them working late is when you pour concrete, you gotta saw it, you gotta put the joints in it, and you can't put the joints in until the concrete gets to a certain, so you can put the saws on the concrete. And sometimes it depends upon what the weather conditions is, but we may end up having to do that sometimes late at night, but then only be one time in phase 1 and one time in phase 2, and that'll be it for the sawing like that.
So Monday, Friday, or Monday, Saturday?
Yeah, it's Monday, Friday, there's a rare occasion where if they're running into some time crunch stuff that they were working on Saturday, and we would let you know ahead of time, say, hey.
But the plan is Monday through Friday.
The plan is Monday through Friday. But.
And if perchance you can't get in your driveway, but we're allowing you to park either on the street, or if we got the grade cut, and we're allowing you to park on the grade, please try to make sure you get your cars out of there by 7 o'clock so that they can continue working on the project. So Scott does a really great job of sending out these notices to let everybody know. There'll be contact information on there, our contact information. We'll provide you with Craig's phone number so that if you got a question, whatever, you can call us. As Scott says, get a hold of the city. But between us, as Scott says, try to leave the contractor do his job. We'll try to answer your questions and get answers for you.
Anything else?
Scott, do we know where the drains are gonna be yet?
They're storm drains?
Yeah.
They're not.
They're on the plans.
They're on the plans. I don't believe they're scheduled to move.
No, I know, well, because like the one is like literally right at the bottom of our driveway, so it's constantly flooding.
What's your address? Your
12.
12? Well, we can look at it. I think.
And even if we just move it over like.
Yeah, that
15
one looks
feet,
like
so
it is. That one looks like it is moved over.
Not at the bottom of the driveway.
Yeah, that one looks like it is moved over. So you can take a look at the plan if you want.
Yeah, we got